The writing process differs for everybody. Every author has a different process. My process for my first book and my second book, which is basically a sequel of the first book, was I would go home every day after work, after a full day's work, and write. And on the weekend, I would write. So my process is sit in that chair. And I learned that actually from Anne Lamott, the famous writer. She put it a little differently though. Her acronym was BIC, but in chair. And she strongly advocated that, and it worked. It worked for me. You just have to go sit in the chair, get rid of the distractions, and sometimes you sit in that chair and nothing comes. The muse does not visit you, but it's the discipline of just getting in that chair and trying to write something. And a lot of the times, the next morning you'll throw out the whole thing you did the night before, but it's that discipline of sitting down, making the time to write. It's very important. Most writers don't get published because they don't have the discipline, I feel. They don't write. I think a lot of people would be more successful if they just got that, if they just sat down and did it with no excuses. My writing process for the nonfiction book was similar, though I had the whole research component on top of that, setting up interviews, interviewing people, transcribing, data collection. So that put a whole other layer on it. I'm the type of writer for fiction or nonfiction who will just write and polish and polish and polish and polish and polish over and over again. People have asked me, like, if I read a page of your work, how many times did you write that? Or a chapter, how many times did you write that chapter? And my little third graders who I teach are always amazed because they just want to write it once and then hand it in. But I would say generally most chapters, and I'm an essayist as well. I am an essayist. I write short pieces, like in both the teacher books, they're essays. The Charms of Miss O'Hara it's small chapters, but it could be considered essays. That's mainly what I do. But I would say one page could be written 50 times. 50 times. It's very much like what I've heard shooting a movie's like. Because what I do is, so when you're shooting a picture, or an actor's in a picture, there are 25 different ways to play a scene. Well, if you're writing a book, you're writing scenes. You're writing, I write like scenes in a play. That's how I write. My background's in the theater, so I just naturally write the scene in the play. Well, as actors, you can play a scene 25 different ways. So I will often write it in different ways. So I'll hit this character's view more, or I'll do it more from this character's view, or I'll try this introduction, or I'll go this way to see what works best. And that has worked. That's just my style. That's just my style. But I'm very grateful for the theater. Very grateful for the theater. My degree was in performing arts. And I did lots and lots of theater growing up. Because if you're surrounded by that, then you learn your timing. And that's something you can't teach, is that timing. Anyway, I would just say, back to your question, sit in the chair, and really sit in the chair, even if nothing comes to you. And also be willing to throw it away the next day. Throw it all away and start over, which takes an enormous amount of discipline.